prayed. My hope is this. I mean, at the fundamental bottom of this, either you could be a daughter of God, a beloved son of God, and you get to talk to God. And for whatever reason, I think a lot of us have started out the journey of praying completely just making stuff up. Just kind of usually inappropriately, number one, without the gospel, we inappropriately wander into God's throne room and talk to him like we belong there. And so then some of us, we hear the gospel, we're like, okay, so I understand I didn't really belong there. I understand through the work of Jesus, I now belong there in this super elevated position. It used to be I kind of like would kind of walk into the back of the giant foreseen throne room and yell out, hey, can you take care of this or that? But now in the gospel, I understand that God says, hey, take that one and bring that one all the way up to my family table. It's a daughter, it's a son of mine. And so in the gospel, we've understood we actually belong there. But then we've got approached prayer in such a bizarre way. A lot of times we aren't listening to some of the fundamental things. So prayer life for a lot of us has moved into something that doesn't really matter or is so bizarrely mysterious. And it's usually a list, like, got this list of stuff, or more often than not, like just a moment of cry out in need of help and those kind of things. And he's there for you. He'll listen to you when you cry out. Even if we're not really listening to him, he will still listen to us as his children. But there's so much help in this passage. And so I'm just hoping that maybe for some of you guys, this will fundamentally open up a door and an avenue for you to know how you can approach God, okay? The Lord's Prayer is mentioned 2 times in Matthew 6, in Luke 11. They're different. You can read it later on. They're different. Which leads us to understand that the Lord's Prayer isn't a chant. It's not something where he says, hey, chant like this. He goes, no, he says, pray like this. And when you lay the two side by side, what you learn is that there's actually categories. They're almost like chapter headings, where you think that term or that phrase, and then you kind of go off on that, right? And then you come back to the next phrase, and then you kind of go off on it. And so they are categories that we get to pray through, not meant as something to be chanted back to the Lord or ripped off when your sports team is down low. So categories for us to think through. Things that are interesting to me is that thanksgiving never shows up in prayer, in the Lord's Prayer. Never shows up, and that's kind of bizarre to me. And I think the reason that is, and also really specific requests also are not in the Lord's Prayer. He doesn't say, and so insert list of said prayer requests here, or insert thanksgivings here. I think what we have in the Lord's Prayer is the cornerstone, it's the foundation of what prayer life is like. Okay? It's not supposed to be the only thing you ever pray, but this is really how you interact with the Father. You don't come before the Father and like, can I have 5 minutes and pull out your shopping list of like, help my grandma, help my mom, help my dad, help that cancer, those kind of things. That's not what prayer, the essence is. Jesus says this is the essence of prayer. And so we will have times of thanksgiving, and we will have plenty of room to pray. In fact, Romans 8 tells us that we don't know what to pray, so the Spirit of God works in us as children and moves our hearts so we'll know how to pray about things. So we do pray for things and people and specifics. But I think that this is the heart of our prayer life. There's a number of us in the room who are trying right now to practice the habit of, as we go to bed, figure out a Spirit-led time to go to bed, which I need to do better. And so let's say I'm going to say it's 10 o'clock. Roll back to 9:45 and take the last 15 minutes of awake time and just sit before the Lord with a pen and paper. And I think through the Lord's Prayer and see how he answered it today. And then I think through all the things that I've prayed and whatever and see how he gave me answers so I can actually interact with my very generous God who I usually am quite oblivious to. I march through my life. I offload some things I want, then I march through my life, and then I wake up the next morning semi-depressed, as if I live under the rule of a God who doesn't hear prayer and is kind of stingy with what he gives. That's what my heart tells me sometimes. That's what my emotions tell me, and I bet you they tell you the same thing. Because a lot of times we don't actually sit before the Lord and ask God to show us how generous he has been. So I'm trying to practice this. 15 minutes at night to sit down before the Lord and offload on a sheet of paper, and then one by one talk to the Lord and go to bed a very satisfied man, because I live under the rich blessings of God. Not only heavenly wise in what he's done to me, but like day by day by day. So I practiced this week, and I was just amazed at how many times I saw God really make me happy, bless me by blessing you. Because I talked to you, whatever, and I saw God stirring in you, and he answered some of the Lord's Prayer stuff in you, and it pumped me up. I loved it. I wasn't with a stingy God this week. He's never stingy. But sometimes I perceive him as stingy because I'm just not paying attention. So Thanksgiving is real. praying for a list of things is real. This here is the heart of it. This here is what will make everything fuel off it. So let's go. I'm going to really try to pace myself so we don't take too long today. And I've used kind of an ugly slideshow. You have to forgive me for this. I made the keywords red so they stand out, but I learned that when you put them on a projector, it diminishes them. So have some love for me. So today's thing is praying along the Lord's Prayer. There's no red words up there. Thanks. Not yet. And so we're in Matthew 6, verses 9 to 13. And our first piece that we get, there's the red, is Our Father. Okay? I'm going to argue that there's 6 categories for you to think through and pray through.